Members' notice of motion, number 80, pursuant to the Standing Order 98. The member has 12 minutes for her presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it is good to see you in the chair. Mr. Speaker, after many months of hard work, a myriad of meetings, conference calls, letters, a gazillion tete-a-tetes with many members of our staff, various ministries, parent groups, and beyond, I am thrilled to rise for the debate of my private member's motion on Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Day. This subject is very near and dear to my heart, and it is to many who live and work in the field. And I am thrilled to see that so many advocates and stakeholders are with us here today from across the entire province. The journey to get where we are today has been a long one, especially for those affected and impacted by FASD. The dedication that I have witnessed firsthand has been truly remarkable and has inspired my advocacy for the FASD community. I would like to once again take this opportunity to thank those who are with us in the House today. Thank you for showing your support, and most importantly, thank you so much for all your efforts to raise awareness and to help those living with this condition. I would also like to thank my fellow members of caucus, MPP Fraser and MPP Anderson, who will be speaking in support of my motion shortly. It means so much to these groups and those who could not be here today. Stakeholders will be particularly acquainted with MPP Anderson, as he was the Parliamentary Assistant to the Ministry of Children and Youth Services before I assumed the role. He did a great deal of work on the FASD file, and I know that he's very familiar with this topic, and I thank my colleague for his work. Thank you to everyone who assisted with drafting this important piece of legislation, including the Legislative Council, the Ministry of Education, Government House Leader's Office, and the unending patience, of course, of Jagtarang Singh, my EA, Jacqueline Hamill, my LA, Anna Majetic, for your never-ending trips back and forth from our Wellesley Street office, for your meetings, arranging phone calls, all that back and forth, incredible, thank you. Your good energy that you continually brought forward has always been an ongoing inspiration. My advocacy for the FASD community was inspired by attending a monthly meeting with the Kingston and the Islands Parent Network, led by the remarkable Len Whalen. You have been amazing. I'm very thankful that you were able to join us in the gallery today. Through this meeting, I gained a better understanding of the daily challenges that children with FASD and their families face, and I was deeply moved by their personal stories of struggle and resilience, and I was inspired to further advocate on their behalf. When I asked Minister Michael Coteau more about FASD, he asked me if I wanted to take charge of the file, and without hesitation, I said absolutely yes. And I thank him for his encouragement and trust. As many in this House already know, fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is an umbrella term used to describe a range of cognitive developmental disorders that are caused by exposure to alcohol in utero. When a woman becomes pregnant, alcohol consumption can pose significant risk to the fetus and result in fetal alcohol syndrome, partial fetal alcohol syndrome, alcohol-related neurodevelopmental disorder, and alcohol-related birth defects. It is estimated that 1 out of every 100 people may have FASD, meaning that as many as 130,000 Ontarians may be affected. FASD is a lifelong, debilitating neurological condition which is largely unrecognized and has no cure. It is also largely misunderstood. There is a great deal that is not known about FASD. For example, sometimes people who have FASD have particular facial features. However, the majority of people with FASD do not display the physical indicators of FASD. The presence of facial features depends on whether alcohol was consumed between day 19 and 21 of pregnancy, to be exact. The common myth that all cases of FASD involve the presence of facial features is completely false, yet it is widely considered a fact. That this is considered to be a truth can lead to some devastating impacts. Anyone who may work with individuals living with FASD in any capacity, be it service providers in various fields, teachers, or educational assistants, for example, may simply assume that a child or an individual without these facial features doesn't have FASD or may have a different behavioral issue. This may lead to improper and ineffective support of that child or individual, hampering their ability to succeed in a positive environment that understands them and their disorder. This is just one example of how misinformation can impede individuals with FASD from receiving the best possible support. In my conversations with families and caregivers, they have expressed concerns that there are many myths that are taken as fact, which has led to a great deal of misunderstanding, stigma, and shaming. FASD is particularly hard to diagnose because children and adults might display a wide range of behavioral issues that are symptomatic of other conditions. We have a collective responsibility to ensure that children with FASD get the best possible support that they need. Adding further complexity is the fact that some women don't know that they are pregnant until further along in their pregnancies. In fact, just this summer, the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists of Canada reported that a survey conducted in 2016 found that 61% of women had unintended or unplanned pregnancies, and as such, women may unknowingly cause harm to their unborn child. Contrary to many myths and misinformation, there is no safe amount of alcohol that can be consumed during a pregnancy. The stigma associated with FASD and the tendency to blame mothers often leads to situations where families and mothers are afraid to come forward because they fear being judged and/or they might not know what their options are. Mr. Speaker, it's important to know that it's important to not blame women or expectant mothers, but instead extend as much support as possible. A focus on awareness would go a very long way towards prevention efforts. We need greater awareness to not only help prevent FASD, but to approach this very important issue in the most compassionate and informed way possible. The fact is that individuals with FASD and their families face difficulty in society when it comes to equity, inclusion, and well-being. In MPP Anderson's report to the Minister in 2015, it was noted that cultural knowledge building is essential towards ensuring that communities in the North and remote locations can develop solutions that best help individuals with FASD. That is why simply raising awareness is not enough, and this motion calls for greater collaboration between parent groups, service providers, and educators who are involved in the everyday challenges of those with FASD. Learning from lived experience is a critical step that we need to take in order to develop and implement a strategy to assist in the recognition and treatment of those directly affected by this condition. Mr. Speaker, since the beginning of my journey on this issue, I have been overwhelmed by the level of engagement, resilience, and deep commitment across the province from advocates, families, and communities, and organizations like FASD Connection Peel, FAS World, and many others that I wish I had time to list. Mr. Speaker, in recognizing September 9th as Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Day, this motion will help create opportunities to elevate the discussion of FASD in the public realm. It would provide an opportunity to acknowledge FASD in the province of Ontario every single year, and it would ensure continued advocacy on behalf of those who have lived experience. Importantly, an Awareness Day should signal the Government of Ontario's continued commitment to the FASD community in order to enhance awareness and prevention. I am very proud that Budget 2017 included $26 million over 4 years earmarked specifically for FASD, and that it was specifically included in the budget. The strategy, which is currently in its development and rollout stages, includes 6 major initiatives that the government will focus on. They include a one-stop full access hub, more than 50 new FASD positions to support 2,500 people with FASD. They will boost the number of parent support networks and assist those already in existence. And we will also have initiatives with our Indigenous partners. It goes on. The motion is but a small step within a movement that has already been in motion, a movement that has been the result of literally thousands and thousands of individuals over decades. Many of them are here today. Yet in many ways, FASD continues to fly under the radar. Mr. Speaker, before I close, I would like to ask all of the members of this House to acknowledge the real heroes on this issue, those individuals with FASD and the incredible challenges that they face, but also those heroes, the parents, the support network, service providers who are with us today. Thank you for all of your hard work on this issue. In closing, this motion would establish the 9th day of the 9th month as Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Awareness Day, which symbolizes the average period during which a woman is pregnant, as a day of recognition, education, and awareness of FASD. I would like to once again thank everyone who has contributed to this motion and those who are here to support it. I hope that all members will give their full support to this motion, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your work. Job well done. Merci beaucoup.